Hi, I'm Rebecca Palsha with this edition of Alaska's Political Pipeline. So last week I sat down to talk with Mayor Dave Bronson about his term as the mayor of Anchorage as it comes to an end. I do want to start with some current events, things happening. Third day of 3 shootings. Do you think there should be concern at this point about the violence in town?
Well, we should always be concerned about any violence that happens in our town. I spoke here 30 minutes ago with the chief, and she has this under control, the process of investigating shootings, and I've got great faith in her. She's a lot of experience, so I think she'll do just fine with this.
Real quick, I'm sorry. Do you want to move your phone, sir?
Oh.
Yeah. There you go. I'm sorry. All right, we're good.
But I guess for like the average Alaskan walking around these days, I think a lot of those people are concerned about safety, in particular downtown. What should be done? Or how can we fix this?
Well, not all the shootings were downtown. So last night it was 9th and 19th and Carluck. That was a different. That wasn't downtown. It was more in Midtown. If the shooting is involved with, say, the homeless population, we've been dealing with this for 3 years. We have to be able to provide a space for these people to live so we can help control their behavior. But without that space, this is kind of what you get. We are abating today on the hillside in front of the railroad. We do have policy that we worked on for many months, and we call it 36-1, and that is going to allow us to greater control behavior, sleeping downtown, only in the downtown business district. We can, under Martin versus Boise, we can control camping, sleeping downtown under time, place, and manner. It allows us to do that. We can't do it across the whole city because people have to have a place to go. But now if criminal activity that's not related then to, say, the homeless population, that's an entirely more traditional challenge dealing with violence. So, and that's, that APD deals with that, and I think deals with that well. But yeah, 3 shootings in a couple of weeks, that's a challenge, but we've had those episodes before, and they're not all the same. They have to be treated individually.
Do you think people should feel safe downtown?
I think people do feel safe downtown. We do have challenges with the homeless. We, again, worked a long time on getting the legal groundwork set up through our Department of Law. We're finally there, and we can control that behavior downtown, which we've been waiting for a long time.
And when it comes to body cameras, in particular with the Chris Hansey case, do you think that police should go ahead and release the body cameras for those?
Well, this is a process, as you understand, and the process is here to protect us and protect the public. And the process, Office of Special Prosecution is handling that. I think we all understand that. It's not an APD decision. This is a decision after we follow a process, and we will follow the process.
And Cross can go ahead and release the video by herself. The chief, she can release the video by herself and has chosen not to. Do you think she should?
Well, she's following a very prescriptive process. Whenever there's a police shooting, the Office of Special Prosecution becomes involved. That creates this level of unbiasedness, especially in the area of public perception. Yeah, she could release it, but that's not the right thing to do.
You know, when you look around downtown, do you yourself feel safe?
Yeah, I walk around town quite a bit. Yes, I do.
And what do you think when you see the homeless population, in particular now that we have tourists coming in?
Well, I think of it doesn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen. If we had enough shelter space, which we don't, that's why I advocated for a large shelter, so we would have a place to put things, so we could then be compliant with federal law, and then because you have to give people a place to be before you tell them where they can't be, and so that became political. But right now, for the intermediate time, in the near term, that's the only path forward legally. I can't go out and break the law and just start scooping up people. We'll be sued, we'll be stopped by the Department of Justice. We're not going to do that.
Is there anything that you can do because this shelter is not going to happen, this large shelter is not happening? Is there anything you can do at this point except for just accept what we're looking at?
No, downtown we don't have to. As I explained, our lawyers got us to the point, because we live in Ninth Circuit Court jurisdiction, we have to comply with that law. We call it Martin versus Boise. That's why I ordered us to file on with an amicus brief in the Supreme Court, which is being heard right now, allowing us, hopefully, if the Supreme Court gives us a decision here in the next month or so, give us some relief on Martin versus Boise. But at the end of the day, you still have to have shelter space. And somehow that became politicized. No city that's effectively dealt with homelessness has done so without creating shelter space.
So it seems like in the meantime, we do have to accept the large homeless population around Anchorage.
Well, again, it's a matter of where. So the downtown business district, according to this policy that we have finally been able to develop, we can prevent camping and sleeping downtown at large, not beyond downtown. You can't do the whole city, that's illegal. You can take a portion of the city and do that, and that's what we did was downtown. I effectively was forced into a decision to retreat and protect downtown because of the tourist aspect and everything else, and I think over the next week or two we'll see a lot of improvement there. We will be abating the hillside in front of the railroad, so when our tourists get off the buses, they won't see that. That'll take a few days to get that, and we've got all the departments, APD, Health Department, Parks and Recs, ACDA, all working in coordination to clean up that site, that area.
But anywhere else, this is what it's going to look like until there's a shelter.
Yeah. So.
We have the three or the two officer-involved shootings at this point. Mm-hmm. In particular, with the one involving Chris, there's a large public outcry because what the chief said doesn't match up to what the video has shown. Mm-hmm. And in other cities, it's been like 72 hours that police departments should release video. Do you think that she should, to prevent people from thinking something nefarious has happened?
Oh, I think she should follow the legal process. Because if you release the video to the public without the complete investigation being done, you create a narrative. If it were ever to go to court, you've now prejudiced the entire jury pool. We don't do that. Our officers always get the benefit of the doubt. As long as I'm here, they do, and we're going to follow the process. And I hate to be a process guy, I'm more of a principle guy, but at the end of the day, there is a principle here, and that is just because there's a public outcry, we don't necessarily abide by that, because we have to do what's right, and that's what we're going to do.
What do you think is like the crux of our problem these days when it comes to violence and the homeless population? Like, how do you feel this was created?
Well, again, a couple of these instances, Chris is an example that had nothing to do, that I know of, with homelessness. So there is violence that has always gone on in society. And then there's the say violence that is limited to the homeless population. So, and you deal with them completely differently. Violence, firearm, discharging a firearm, that kind of thing, it's all illegal. But if you're going to look at the root causes of it, you have to take it instant by instant and evaluate it accordingly.
What message would you have for the incoming mayor?
Regarding?
The violence and also separately the homeless population.
Well, we ran a whole campaign, a lot of it dependent on the homeless issue, so I don't need to rehash the campaign. My position is starkly clear on, and we've mentioned it here, on homelessness. There's certain things you have to do to be successful. You have to provide shelter space, especially in Ninth Circuit Court jurisdiction, which we are. You just have to do that. You can't break the law on your way to solving a problem. You either change the law or you find a way to work to solve the problem and be compliant with law.
Do you think she'll be successful?
I very much hope she is. It'd be the best thing for our city.
What are you most proud of?
Well, we've accomplished a great deal. We secured $270 million for the port. We got $200 million from the legislature. It's the largest appropriation in the history of the state. The port is that single point of a physical structure where if it fails, we all fail. We estimate if port fails in an earthquake, not unlike the one we had on November 30th of 18, probably not less than half the population of the state will have to leave the state until the port is repaired. And that could take a long time. So, and again, we're not seismically secure at the port yet. We are at the petroleum cement terminal. That's new, that's seismically secure. The port itself, the docks are not. They were damaged in the 2018 earthquake, but we were able to keep using them, thankfully. But the program, the development or the remodeling program of that is back on track. We're working on the funding. The planning is for Terminal 1 and part of Terminal 2. The planning is done. We're on our way, and we anticipate one dock, Terminal number 1, being seismically secure and operational by end of first quarter 2028. And then we're in much better shape. That's probably the single greatest thing that we've accomplished here. It's not flashy, but it impacts every last one of us. Everything that's in this room, just about everything that's come into the state comes over those docks. That stops if the dock fails in an earthquake or a bad docking. That's a 70-year-old roughly facility, and it's in big trouble.
What is your biggest regret?
Single biggest regret? I may have probably, the personnel, there's probably people I shouldn't have hired. That leads to other problems. But the single biggest regret probably is coming back to the same old issue, is not dealing with the sheltering issue, which would allow us to deal with not all, but much of the homeless challenges we're facing in the city. It's not for lack of trying. One only needs to go back 3 years and look at the media, and you can tell we've been trying. But I don't control the money. I control the planning and the execution of the plans, but the Assembly controls the money, and when they decide to not fund your plans over and over and over again, then you're not going to execute, because everything we do needs money.
If you could go back, having the experience that you have now, to offer yourself some advice, what would it be to start your term?
I think in the very beginning, we came out and probably fought too much with the assembly. I mean, that's a two-way street. But that, after a few months, that ended, and I made a conscious decision. We're all done with the fighting. We're going to work where we can, and obviously, on occasion, I would do vetoes but those were on matters of principle, mostly on the issues around the issue of executive authority. I need to protect. I took an oath to protect this office, and there was challenges in that area. But I think, we fought a good fight, and we accomplished a lot of different things. From the port, we saw the urgency here late last summer. It came to our attention, Cook Inlet natural gas. That too is a very acute threat to the rail belt. It's incredibly significant, and we had some real challenges this last winter. We had a series of evenings where I would get a call from NSTAR, John Sims, and saying see if they made the decision to convert to diesel production for electricity, and we dodged that bullet, thanks in no small part to Colonel Wilson out at J. Bear, turning down the heat in his hangars. That little bit of difference made the difference. That was a scary time for us. Extreme cold weather, not having enough gas stored in the inlet in Sing Sah, but we need relief from that. Legislature, governor's office, governor's doing a great job working forward. And there just seems to be this. I noticed it when I came here 33 years ago, recognized it instantaneously, and it doesn't seem to happen in the lower 48. There's this natural, here in Alaska, animosity by some towards the oil companies, the energy companies. It's like, and we see it, we just saw it in the session. I don't understand it. The oil companies, all of them, Hillcorp, Conoco, BP, Shell, they've been our friends, they're our neighbors, they're our family members, and somehow there's legislators that seem to be acutely hostile towards them. I don't know. I mean, you got to trust but verify, but at the end of the day, we need to make nice with our energy companies. And there's too many people that just think they're this unlimited money stream that keeps coming in, and no, you can drive them out. We've done that. It's too bad BP isn't still here.
What advice would you have for LaFrance?
In what areas?
Oh, homelessness beyond the shelter and the violence.
Well, I mean, 3 weeks ago, you wouldn't have asked about the violence, because major crime is down year over year in the city. The crime that's associated with the homeless population is up. The theft and the breaking into cars, those kinds of things, that has been going up because you have a population that's behaviorally challenged, psychiatrically challenged, and we're not controlling that the way we should. In every city that governs that way, up and down the West Coast, is solving the same problem, or is facing the same challenges. But yeah, these shootings in the last few weeks, they're a challenge, but it's new. So is it indicative of a long-term trend? I don't think we see that yet. So,
when you look back on your time as mayor, do you think you were successful?
Yes, I think we were very successful, in spite of the roadblocks placed in front of us.
What's the plan for the future? For yourself,
me?
Yeah.
Well, last week I bought a fishing boat, so that'll probably, my wife and I spent the weekend out in Prince William in that. There's probably going to be some more of that. So, But who knows? You know, I'm here to serve the public. I always have. The notion of retiring is it probably doesn't set well. I tried that once for about 5 months. That didn't go well. I just like staying busy, and I like serving the public. So we'll see what's up.
Would you run for office again?
I wouldn't make a decision to not run at this point. You know, we have served well here, and like I say, in spite of the challenges. But I won't say no.
Were you glad that do you look back and have enjoyed your time as mayor, or are you still happy you had the chance to serve?
Oh, I'm very happy I had a chance to serve. In the military, I served for 24 years. We served here for 3 years. We built a really good team. I would put this executive team up against any executive team in either politically or corporately in the city. It took a while to get there, but it always does. We came in, we started from scratch. We had on a lot of the floors here, we had no one. People, you know, left because I guess maybe they felt they couldn't work with us. But we built that team, and I think that's probably the greatest source of personal pride is that the quality of the team that we built.
You know, especially during the campaign, you were essentially being blamed for the homeless population growth. How would you respond to that one?
Well, I was being blamed for it by those probably contributed to that growth. Just spoke with the fire chief last week. His teams are out and they're noticing baggage tags on folks that they're dealing with through their MCT teams, and they're seeing fresh luggage tags. So they query the individual. He says, "Oh yeah, our mayor or our governor sent us up to Anchorage because you get a dividend check and you probably get a hotel, flat screen TV and cell phone, and won't have to do a thing for it. We don't want you here, so go to Anchorage, go to Alaska." We get that, and but if you make it really nice for someone, they're more apt to come. We're here to help people, but we don't fix people, and unfortunately, we were prevented from executing on the plans that we had to deal with that, to prevent the growth, and then also to help people who are willing to deal with their problems, their own personal problems.
Anchorage has sent people out of state, you know, for homeless populations. Do you think that maybe that's a trend that should not continue with mayors across the country?
Well, that's a real challenge because, you know, I've never heard of anyone freezing to death in San Diego or Los Angeles on the street. So coming to Alaska and living on the street, coming from a warm climate to here, come October and November, that could be a death sentence. I suppose we've had limited success in our airline ticket to the lower 48 thing to warmer climates, but we've had some success, and I think folks are better off living in a climate. If they choose to live outside, it's better to live outside in a warm climate than an Arctic climate. So I think that just makes sense.
Do you think the city is more successful after your tenure?
Well, we brought in, we had Block 41 project that was stalled when we got here. We unstalled that. Block 96, we completed that. We worked with, in partnership with ACDA, the municipality, and the developer to build that. That's I believe 48 apartments downtown. What we need a lot of living space. We've brought in nearly $1 billion of investment into the city. I think that's real encouraging. We brought on nearly 1,200 lots in Eagle River because I signed an agreement with the Eklutna Corporation. We modified the methane gas agreement, and that was very successful. After some wrangling, we brought on the development project in Eagle River, or excuse me, in Girdwood. We think that's going to help down there. We did things early on. We didn't compel we were fully anticipating, had I not won, that municipal employees would have been compelled to get, say, vaccines. I'm not for or against vaccines, but I'm for free choice. We gave municipal employees that choice, and many of them chose not to be vaccinated. We believe that they would have been compelled to. So I think that I know for a fact that retained a lot of police officers who would not. They've told me personally that they would have quit before they would have done that, and that's their choice. But if so between that, the development, we did smaller things like pulse point at the fire department. We brought that on. That increases your chance of surviving a heart attack by about 57%. That's really good. It's and I would encourage everyone to sign up for that. And it's kind of a geofencing phone app, so if someone's nearby and is having a heart attack and you are trained to help revive them. I mean, this is leading edge technology we brought on. We brought on 2 ladder trucks, 4 engines at the end, and we've got over 50 patrol cars on order. That's a big thing. That's a real big thing to our police officers. I gave the largest pay increase in the history of the city to APD because it was long overdue. Their pay was languishing. It was impacting us in the area of recruitment and retention. So I think we did a real good job by the police department, fire department. They're very equipment intensive. We secured a $10 million grant to hire a new academy, which we supported early on. I think that brought on 18 firefighters. So I think, yeah, we're leaving the city in a lot better shape than it was, but we still have challenges. So again, the port, cook inlet, natural gas, and homeless, I would say, is the big 3. With varying success, we've been working on all of those.
What do you think people will remember about you as far as your legacy here?
I think I'll let the historians write that. Again, without rehashing everything, I think eventually the truth will come out and they'll find out that we did a good job under withering attack from people who disagree with us. We ran the city well. We maintained our roads. I wish we could do more. I see the potholes, but I see the literally hundreds of millions of dollars spent on homelessness. And I think of the potholes and the roads that could have been paved with that. Would have been nice. But those decisions were made not by us. They're made by the appropriating body. And so we disagreed on some of those things. So, but I think the city, we've got wonderful, absolute crown jewel, and it's kind of a passion of mine, is the parks and the trails. Tourists come here for that. Unfortunately, the failure to deal with homelessness has impacted some of that, especially downtown, the use and the safety on our parks and trails. So that crown jewel is suffering because the best policies weren't executed.
When you talk about the failure to deal with homelessness, whose failure is that?
It's a matter of degree and how you deal with it. A lot of it is a national problem that, or I should say a federal problem restricting our ability. But the federal challenge in Martin versus Boise gave us a path forward to deal with it within the constraints of Martin versus Boise. And we are, again, as I said, we're looking for relief from that through the amicus brief that we filed. But at the end of the day, and I don't know how it got political sheltering, we had a Tudor, Elmore, a large facility there that could have given us much of the capacity we needed to create the bed space, that at which point is, so let's just say you have 500 homeless. If you create 501, the moment you create 501 shelter beds, then you can come in and you can revert back to municipal code and enforce a lot of the laws, the camping and the other behavioral laws in our city, and you can't get there without the sheltering space. That would have been, and we started it. It was appropriated, the money was appropriated, and it's still, as far as I can see, the only plan forward to help us deal in a large way with the challenges we're facing.
So then that's the Assembly's failure?
We presented multiple plans, and when we had the money was there through ARPA 1 and ARPA 2. We had the opportunities, and we just, the appropriating body decided to spend that money elsewhere. And all that money is gone. We don't have money for cold weather sheltering. We may get some here. We probably will get a little bit, but now it's going to fall on the back of the property taxpayer. So I think the Assembly could have made better decisions and to deal with the problem.
Do you think any of it was also your failure?
Well, we can present plans with budgets, and which is what we did. We can't compel anyone to accept our plans. We can entice them, encourage them. The major plan was the Tudor Elmore facility, and they approved it, they appropriated it, and then in the middle of a concrete pour, that program was stopped. And the footings are half done, and it sits there. And we're paying about $5,000 a month in storage for that facility in the lower 48. So I'll let your listeners decide for themselves.
Anything for you? Anything else you want to add?
No?
Thank you for listening, and make sure to like and subscribe to this political podcast.